Hi, this is Eternal King here, bringing you another gaming video today. So we are looking at Roguelegacy2 today, and basically just providing general Easter updates. Hope you guys are all having an awesome Easter. So once again, I've got a pretty busy travel schedule with my job lined up for the month of May. We are looking at essentially 3 trade shows that I'll be hitting up for the month of May. I'm going to be in Washington, Montreal, and then also going to be in Texas at the end of the month. So I'm going to be exceptionally busy, as is usually the case. And surprisingly, I've actually been at this job for 3 months now. And that was kind of something that struck me as interesting because I never really kind of took time to look back on how long I've been doing this role. And yeah, it has been almost half a year now. Basically, the way it's been since I've joined is I've barely had time to think since starting this role, right? It's just every single day has been a new challenge, a new fire to put out, a new problem to deal with, and this has just been fundamentally true across the board. There's really no two ways around it. I started off, a lot of my focus was content centric because I just found that a lot of content work wasn't getting done. So I kind of stepped up there and wanted to start fixing things across the board, content wise for the company. Made some good strides there. Then I was asked to do things like translate the website and also onboard an SEO team for the company. And I was able to successfully do that as well. So across the board, things have been kind of all right in terms of the responsibilities I've been taking on. And then the next big challenge that I was asked to take on, which was fairly massive, was got hit there. The next challenge I was asked to take on was basically focus on acquisitions and integrations. So we had a acquisition with a guaranteed contractual marketing spend, and I was more or less tasked on that to end that process. Yeah, I honestly, I think my approach at the time was that it was a little bit over the head of someone who was kind of director level, typically speaking. It's not the kind of thing that you would see at my level, that you would just be tackling these massive, acquisitions and integrations. At least at my current, pay grade. I have seen it listed as a thing that happens now digitally for other similar job roles, but they typically just compensate more. But yeah, it is a thing that happens where it's if you buy a company, you need to be responsible for onboarding their marketing mix. Because they have, these days, marketing mixes are as complicated as investment portfolios. This is just fundamentally true across the board, that marketing mixes are as important. Cost 25 resolve. Every 5 seconds, your next weapon attack deals 75% bonus damage. Timer resets if you take damage. Okay. Defeat enemies to have spore bursts apply to them. I guess I'll just take this one. Take the red sand hourglass. So yeah, it's just that digital marketing has increasingly become a more. These are better. Increasingly, digital marketing has just become a more complicated and varied role across the board. Right? It used to be that digital marketing was just oh, well, you're going to have a meta ads campaign, you're going to have a Facebook ads campaign, and that's it. Then it's okay, well, you're also going to do email marketing, and then you're going to do content and vanity metrics, and it's okay, and that's it. It's no, you're also going to handle, onboarding the marketing mix for any sort of corporate acquisition or integration, right? It's okay, well, that's also more, and that's also something that's pretty significant. And then it becomes, okay, well, you're also going to be going to all the trade shows that we do as a company in North America, and it's okay, well, that's also more in terms of what a marketing director is going to take on. And so it's just these things compound and pile up to the point where, you know, a marketing director might be seen as something closer to a marketing VP. In, you know, functionally speaking, that is the job that you're doing. And then it just becomes a question of like, well, if I'm already doing that job, should I do that job for someone else who is going to compensate me more to do the exact same things I'm doing anyway? And yeah, there's no easy answers to that question. These days, you really have to be your own advocate. Otherwise, people will walk all over you. You'll make less money, you'll burn out, you'll do more, and nobody will say thank you. And that's just the reality of the fact. What people do when they start to build up this professional momentum of like, I'm just doing more and more and more and more. I can fly across the country on a day's notice. I can, you know, do 3 trade shows in a month. I can handle the integration of massive corporate entities and take possession of their marketing mixes. I can, you know, create marketing strategies. I can handle the budget for these things down to the dollar. You know, I can do all these things. Obviously, your typical content pipelines for socials and blogs and website design. I can middle manage SEO teams and content teams. Like, I can hire additional staff resources entirely from my desk without additional touch points. Like, you can just do all these things, but, you know, you have to ask yourself the question of like, can I do these things potentially for more money? And that's really the fundamental truth of it. And the answer sometimes is yes, and sometimes the answer is no. Like, you don't know, right? So you put out feelers, you see like what are other jobs that people are looking for in this vein. These sort of hyper elite digital marketers or marketing people who are capable of doing everything, right? You call them director, you call them VP. They're no longer digital marketers. They're now vice presidents, right? That is you know, the scale of what we are talking about essentially. Is that, you know, when does digital marketing transform from digital marketing to masters of all physical and digital marketing and corporate integrations? You know, at that point, you're no longer a digital marketer. You're a digital marketer plus. You're a digital marketer. I am central to your company's operations, right? And yeah, if you're going to be that, then you might as well be compensated to be that. If you're just going to do it anyway, right? And like, that's kind of my position across the board. Because yeah, you know, you do at a certain point have to be your own advocate. And there's nothing really wrong with that in today's day and age. Like, people post constantly on LinkedIn about doing nothing, right? They're like, oh wow, I hosted like, you know, one speaking event and like that was my gig for a month, and then I worked remotely the rest of the time. Like, people do make tons of money these days working remotely from their armchair, and they'll make twice what I make, and you know, they have no problem advocating for every little thing they do. So what I'm suggesting isn't really like that far outside the realm of normality. It's actually exceptionally typical, in my opinion. And yeah, it's just, you know, knowing your worth is kind of one of the things people say, right? That's a thing that comes up a lot these days, is that if you're gonna do it all, then at least kind of, you know, be your own advocate to a certain extent. Because no one else will. This is the reality, is that in today's corporate environment, it used to be like, oh, okay, well, we're gonna make sure that certain people, you know, that everybody basically pitches in to do the same amount of work, right? That was just like the fundamental truth of how companies were run, is that we're all here working together, therefore we hold down an equal share of the load, right? If the load is like 1,000 kilograms, then everybody gets 100 kilograms. Like, that's the workload that needs to be shared. But what you find now, ever since COVID, is that there are the people who do nothing and are exceptionally good at doing nothing, and they carry no workload. And then there are the people who work till burnout, and then they essentially either quit their job or go to another opportunity, or they put out feelers or what have you. And this is normal. This is what happens now. But, you know, on the positive side is that, you know, if you are relatively early on in your career, and you're actually not lazy, and you are doing all these things and capable of taking on all this stress and doing things in a moment's notice, ideally those are the people that you are going to be slightly more hungry to hire, you know, at those higher compensation levels. The people who will do anything, that are capable of doing anything, and will do so without complaint, and will do so in a short time frame. Those people are invaluable, sorry, in my opinion. So yeah, I was just kind of like taking the Easter break to like look back and see like how far have I gotten in my current role in those 6 months and how much have I done. And the answer is like I did a ton in the first 3 months to the point where it was like pages and pages on a report. By the time I've reached 6 months, the scope of my position extended from like what a normal director would do, which was in the first 3 months, to basically what a vice president would do by the time I hit the 6 month mark. And just no change in compensation, no change in treatment, no change in the level of respect at the current role. None of those things happened. In fact, they just kind of kept grinding me out further and further and further, putting me on more and more tasks to the point that I basically encompassed the entire workload of the marketing department across the spectrum. And yeah, like that is okay, assuming that I am being paid, you know, to the same level of that. But currently I am not being paid to do that. I'm not being paid as a marketing VP. I'm being paid the bare minimum of a marketing director. And again, I take on the vast majority of the company workload right now at the 6 month mark. So, you know, when you reach that point at a job, it is worth exploring like, well, what would someone else pay me to do the exact same thing? Because if the answer is a lot more, that is worth, you know, exploring and worth discussing, right? Maybe not committing to, right? You're just putting out feelers. You're just getting, you know, you're looking around. You're sniffing the air, right? If you're a you know, corporate dog, that's what you're doing. You know, we're not here to be altruists. That's not the business that we're in. No one is here to. No one cares if you burn yourself out at your job, right? You get paid the same either way, and no one cares how you feel about your job. Like, no one does these days. Not anymore. No one gives a damn, honestly. They'll assign you to three trade shows when everyone else is doing one in a month. They'll just triple your workload compared to everyone else. And they'll do it with a smile and with a grin because now they've taken the hardworking person and then they basically ground them out. That is the world we live in today. It's a very cynical world. It's a world where people kind of get their jabs in where they can. Where, you know, it's more fun to mistreat people and burn them out than it is to do any work yourself. That is the current environment that we are in. And your only real alternative is just to explore what other people will pay you to do the exact same thing for them. And that is considered normal these days. It used to be that was like considered disloyal, right? Like you would never do that, you know, if you were serious about your employer in the 80s. Like you would just stay at the same job forever. These days, the only way to get paid more and be treated with respect is to essentially leverage the work that you're doing and then do it, you know, basically either, you know, suggest that you would be open to doing it for someone else or quite literally just accept an offer from someone else. And that's the only way to advocate for yourself today. It's shown statistically that people who are willing to explore more opportunities more often tend to get paid more. This is just factually accurate. Like it's statistically accurate on LinkedIn that people who explore more opportunities more often are capable of getting paid more. And people who don't get paid more. So like that might be the difference between making like 150,000 and 100,000. Just the willingness to explore what happens when I do the same work for someone else. That's all you're asking. You're just asking the question. It's like, because in capitalism, there is no guaranteed value, right, on work. There is no like centralized value on work. Work is only as valuable as people pay you for it. So, you know, again, it's possible that you're doing work that is actually far more valuable than you yourself know. Like, how would you know unless you checked? You know, again, capitalism has no centralized value on anything. There is no way to know the value of work unless you do it like through the evaluations of other opportunities. There's no way to know. It's just consensus, right? Like it's like, is the workload that I'm doing worth 130? Is it worth 100? Is it worth 200? Is it worth 150? Like you don't know until you explore those options and see what everyone else is basically getting paid, right, for the same types of roles. You don't know. It's impossible to know without doing research and being your own advocate these days. It's literally impossible. And no one's going to tell you that information. You just have to explore it through different job opportunities. So yeah, that's very much kind of where I'm at, is looking at basically grinding through my job straight through till the end of June. I basically have all my time slated through the month of May. So first trade shows end of April in a week. I do 3 in May. And then by the end of June, I've got a pretty big deadline for an integration that is central to the healthy operation of the company. And I have all this stuff to do. And then not to mention like my normal just workload and tasks and everything I'm doing for everyone else. I have all this stuff to do by the end of the summer as like a hard deadline. And I'm doing all that stuff for modest pay for my industry and for my role and my current workload, like very modest, exceptionally modest, I would say. Which has been okay while I'm learning, and it's okay right now, but I don't know if another 6 months from now it'll still be okay, because I will have successfully transformed so much in my role and what I'm taking on that I don't know if it will still be okay to be that. When does the learner become the what's it from Dune, the sleep? When does the sleeper awaken, right? When do you become Paul Muad'Dib? Not the Atreides, but you become the spiritual leader, right? When does that happen? When do you transform and the sleeper awakens, and now you're not the guy pretending to be, the exceptionally valuable marketing executive, but you just are that now. You're just forever that person, the exceptionally well-valued marketing executive. When does that happen? So, these are questions worth asking in any young person's career. And again, no one is going to advocate for you on these subjects. No one is going to care about your burnout rate, your health, your well-being, your workload relative to everyone else, whether or not you're taking on responsibilities beyond the scope of the position you were hired for. No one cares about these things. No one cares about you as a human being. Not anymore. Not since COVID and work went remote. Nobody cares. The only thing you can do as an employee these days to be your own advocate is to explore opportunities that are in addition to what you're currently looking at, right? It's the only way. Yeah, it's the only way. I wish it wasn't that. I wish that wasn't the case, because I'm kind of old school about like loyalty and corporate welfare and all that stuff. I'm pretty old school about that. But the thing is, like, 80s mentalities don't fit a 2020 world. This is the truth. 80s mentalities do not fit a 2020 world. I wish that wasn't the case, but it's the truth. And any professional will tell you this, that if you don't advocate for yourself, no one will advocate for you. You can grind out and sweat out and work harder than every single person in your industry. Nobody cares. It does not matter. The only thing that matters is, you. You are the human being at the center of it all, right? At the end of the day, if you don't matter, who does? This is just, the fundamental truth. Yeah, so overall, I'd say things are pretty good. I'm just exceptionally busy across the board. And, as always, I'm taking on far more. Like, I've done this, from the beginning. When I was, middle management, I basically did the work of a marketing director. Now that I'm marketing director, I'm basically doing the work of a marketing VP. I've just always done this wherever I go. I cannot do less or do less than other people. I just don't know how to do that. I never have, never will. But it does mean that, in those roles, I eat a lot more shit than other people. This is just fundamentally true, and it's always been the case. But yeah, summer's gonna fly by. I'm just gonna be grinding out work, and a lot of work. Whether it is travel, whether it is, again, this integration that I'm more or less soloing, that is way over my head in terms of what I'm currently being paid. All these things is just happening, right? It's just fundamentally happening. So yeah, very busy. Agency meetings, staff hirings, trade shows, campaigns to manage, assets to maintain, pretty much deep in on every level. you know, currently, which would be awesome if it wasn't for the fact that I'm not being compensated or rewarded for being that deep in any real sense of the word. If I was, that would be a different story. Then you could say like, oh, that's really cool. I'm kind of proud of that fact. But no, you don't really get anything for, you know, you don't really get any rewards for working harder than your colleagues. You're not getting anything out of that equation. So yeah, my advice to all you guys who are kind of at the stage that I am, so if you're like, you're just starting to break into executive level management, I would just say be your own advocate, take care of your own health, never complain while you're on the job, but be aware that you have options outside of your current role. If things are getting too toxic, if things are, you know, if your current role is you're being, you know, A, taken for granted, but B, also doing things that like are in no way within the scope of your current position. If that is what is happening to you currently, just be aware that you have avenues to explore. Because of course you do. It would be silly to assume that you do not have avenues to explore as a professional when you are, you know, not just working hard, but also have a proven track record of doing these things. You can point to the things that you've done and been like, this is the campaign spend that I've managed. This is the integration that I was central to. This is the trade show volume that I undertake in a month. These are the international places that I've traveled to for business reasons. You can point to all that and just say, this is my worth. There's literally nothing wrong with that these days, at all. It's considered normal today. And I can't really, you know, I cannot continue to be like the outlier in a corporate setting. I can't afford to just not forever just turn a blind eye to the way that everyone else is running their lives and living their lives as professionals. I can no longer afford to do that. I have to be willing to basically explore my full value as a working individual. I have to. And that's pretty much the full extent of it. So I think things are in a pretty good spot. I'm going to sign off here. Like I said, I'm going to be exceptionally busy all through summer. It's just like the corporate grind nonstop through the whole summer. May, 3 trade shows. June, big deadline for me. 6 months on the job. By the time I'm done this, it'll be 8 months on the job. And also kind of looking at how other industries are doing and how other industries are classifying essentially what I am, which is an elevated digital marketing professional to the executive level. Like, I just want to see what that role is looking like now that it exists. Because honestly, old school marketing executives, old school legacy marketing staff, basically useless in this world today. Like you know, what are you gonna do? You just, everything's online these days. So like these old school marketing people are essentially useless, and the fact they still get jobs is staggering to me. So I want to see like, what are these high level executive digital marketing roles? What do they look like? How much do they pay? How high does it go? And who are these people? And you know, is it possibly me in the future? This is Eternal King signing out.